Welcome to ShillShop Weekly, the decentralized autonomous podcast. I'm Mackenzie, RaidGuild member and Web3 developer, and joining me is Degeneroach, a restricted market advertising specialist. Web3 is a wildly varied and rapidly developing space, and we're here to deliver frontline developments to you specifically, right here on ShillShop Weekly.
Okay, welcome to the show, Will.
Thanks for having me.
Want to do an introduction here?
Surely. My name is Will. I go by the Discord handle Willdro, and the reason for me being here is I'm an expert Web3 consultant who recently made the switch from Web2 to Web3 full-time. So I'm here to quell any concerns and help onboard the next million, perhaps billion people.
Wow. Ambitious.
Yeah, a billion would be good. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
So we know you from ShillShop, like we work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your capacity there has been doing video, like explain your videos, but you're also interested in writing. So the first thing I want to ask you about is like, what was your background as like a Web2 expert that got you into the position to be doing that kind of work here?
So mostly out of college, I worked in 2 advertising agencies, working full-time, and I ran a lot of ads on various channels and mediums, and I did a shitload of copywriting almost every single day, writing up new blog posts, writing up new advertorials, kind of, scheming to sell whatever product was hot off the boat from China. And I really got sick of working in an agency, working in person. It was a lot. The last agency I was working for was straight salary work, and it was predominantly from 7:30 to 6 every day. 30-minute commute. It was definitely rough. But I predominantly applied to RaidGuild doing copywriting and didn't really ever think I'd get to use my After Effects, DaVinci knowledge anywhere. And then lo and behold, found ourselves on the ShillShopDAO project, as you guys are very familiar with, and it's just kind of taken off from there. It's been a lot of fun to just spin up After Effects and do that for like 6, 8, 10 hours a day for 2 to 3 months. It was great. It was honestly a lot of fun.
Yeah. So quick name drop there on ShillShopDAO. This is the ShillShop podcast. We'll shill the client in question.
Always.
ShillSopDAO is a decentralized quantitative trading desk, essentially. So the core team is European QT traders that are more interested in like crypto, and they're looking at they're like literally exploring as we speak the idea of like fusing AI. They have an AI that they wrote that measures for quantitative signals, and then that sends them to the quantitative analysts, and then the quantitative analysts make buying decisions using a decentralized fund. So this is like a managed DeFi protocol, where traditional DeFi protocols are like you, the user, you are the investor, you're in charge of like, this is the trade I'm making, that's the coin I'm going in. Or if you're in like an options market, or you're doing like a perpetual finance, like a meme driven market, or whatever the case may be, like you're responsible for the speculation. With something like ShillSopDAO, you don't have to be responsible for that speculation anymore. You can just rely on a QA analyst to be doing all of that difficult work for you, and then you can receive the gains through being invested. Like your money goes into their protocol, and then you can exit. And their protocol is being run by like tokens, right? So like this is a RaidGuild client, and this is an or a ShillShop client that's like growing and improving at all times. And another key feature is that it's a DAO. So it's not like these QA people are like, no, we're doing it like this, and this is the structure of the company. And if you're trying to tell us like how to do our jobs, like you're dumb because we went to college and we have the math degrees. It's a DAO, and they often have voting protocols for like DAO members that can say like, what features do you want to see, or like what decisions do you want to make about these funds? Here's the information, and the community can also speak to those investing decisions. So it's very much like the first application that we've seen of the idea of like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together with ShillSopDAO.
Hey, Will.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask, how'd you find out about Web3?
So I was a big time crypto speculator for, I'd say, about 2 years before joining RaidGuild. So I'm a curious learner, and always trying to peel back that onion and go deeper and deeper. And then I found myself at Fiesta Island in San Diego one day for a for a little beach party, and one of my friends who's a Solidity dev and also a season 1 RaidGuild member introduced me to that and was like, yo, you gotta check out a service DAO, because I was, bitching to him about like, oh, my day job is fucking hard, blah, blah, blah. Some weak talk. And he was like, yo, check out RaidGuild, apply. And so I did. That was like Memorial Day-ish of last year, 2021. And then all of a sudden I get like a shot in the dark email in August, and I was like, all right, here we go. Let's take the leap of faith. And it's been great ever since. But and that has opened up like 5 or 6 more onions about like what's really going on in Web3, because that was just dipping my toes. When I thought I was jumping in the deep end, really what I was doing was dipping my toes, and it has become a learning experience every day since. There is a DAO for everything. There are people in 20 DAOs, spending a lot of time on Discord, which I do now. And so it's just been a learning experience every day. And I'm still learning more and more about Web3 from people like you and these people that I interact with on a daily basis. So it's been a lot more than I could have imagined.
Did you,
Totally.
just for anyone listening, did you take a leap of faith and just like quit your day job, or did you kind of like slowly dip your toes in?
I had just quit. When I applied for RaidGuild, I was still working that job. By the time I got in, I had already quit my job about a month before to work for like Instagram influencers and things like that, doing like freelance work for celebrities, which sounds a lot better than the reality of it. And so when I got into RaidGuild, I was like, oh, thank God. And, working with clients directly, not all celebrities, but was just working freelance with different companies as a consultant.
Kind of off topic, but it's I've heard a lot of people talk about how much they don't like Instagram and how it cultivates kind of like a fake persona on Instagram. And it's like it's a nice fresh of breath air when you see these Discord communities kind of like kill that online persona that Instagram's built up. I don't know, have you noticed something similar?
Oh, 100%. I like people going by aliases. I didn't know your real name until like, a couple months after working with you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something about that I think is really cool. It's like we don't really care as long as you're able to help ship. And what that, translates to just depends on the DAO itself and what the mission that's trying to be accomplished is. And, if you don't want to show your true face, if you don't want us to know where you live or what you've done in your life, like that's totally fine. We can still have a healthy working relationship, we can still crack jokes with each other. It's all good. Far better, I think, than the alternative of having to put on like a fake mask every day, going to an office with like 30 different people and pretend to smile, even though you're not feeling all right. It's Monday morning. You gotta kiss the boss's ass. I don't miss that even for a second. So I'll take people with aliases any day.
Yeah, it's to get a little bit like Red Scare here. It's like the decommodification of the individual is what we're seeing when people go into Web3, because the Web3 environment is like so taxing and so fast. But it's not like it's reminiscent of like pioneering a little bit, but the stakes are not quite as high, or maybe they are, right? Because if you're working on a protocol that doesn't end up paying you, then you're without food and home in an urban environment, which is maybe more dangerous than the prairie back in the day. So like there's this sense of like Wild West in Web3, and so for that there's this feeling of like everybody's pulling together in the same direction, and it's not so much of a competition of like, well, I built this and like I'm the genius in this situation, like it is on Instagram. People are always like fighting to take credit for whatever product has been created, and then whoever can like sway public opinion to be known as the creator for that thing is like the winner take all, and then the audience is like fighting about like, well, you claim that you worked on that but you're not in the credits, so like you're a poser. And like all of this stuff, all of this like fighting over, quite frankly, scraps of attention on somebody else's platform is just completely non-existent. Is that kind of hitting?
Yeah, I think that's precisely hitting that point. And
yeah,
it does feel good to pitch in on projects that are coming up in this new space with new ideas, new fresh ideas, and it really feels like the work that you're doing is translating into something long term. And we're still building the foundations. We're in this so early, and I know that we've become accustomed to the life, but many have it, and to many people this is still such a foreign concept and perhaps a bridge too far, but I guess that's the reason for me being here.
Yeah. Another thing is that like it's your name, right? So when, for better or for worse, so in a company like an agency, if you like hustle and you're there 12 hours a day and you're putting out the best work in the world, it's your agency that's putting out the best work in the world. If you mess up, your agency messed up, and then you get fired, and then you have to like explain that to the next agency. In this space, not showing up goes on your name. Like everybody has your card, because when you talk to them on Discord, you get like your name that you sign up with, and then you get a unique identifier code, and also your wallet. Like you're the only person that has that wallet. So for better or for worse, all of the contributions that you make and all of the like payment that you receive is on you, not your agency.
Hey, well,
waiting for that. Yeah, what's up, Roach?
Okay, so you said that you were dabbling with crypto 2 years before you got involved with RaidGuild, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you were just were you just kind of like just doing some casual investing, or what was
That's
like?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then,
casual investing and going deep on Reddit forums. This was before I downloaded Discord, so a lot of reading. But at that time, I didn't really have anyone to bounce ideas off of, so it was kind of a very solitary practice for me. And I kind of had the inclination that it was going to be where it is now. You know, I understood that, you know, as much as people would like to keep the status quo, that is often not the case, and the pandemic was the perfect springboard for crypto and most definitely Web3 and freelance work. It was kind of just like a perfect culmination of events.
Yeah, 100%.
A statistic that's relevant here, but could use fact checking, is that like before the pandemic, it was approximately 1 in 67 people in North America were working remotely, and Roach and I were among them at that time. And after the pandemic, it went to 1 in 7.
Damn. Holy shit.
Do you want me to fact check you right now? I don't even know. Where should I look for that?
I think maybe we could get it in editing
we'll
or
do that in
something. Like
editing.
you could go and fact check that if you wanted to. But definitely this trend has opened up. There's something that I want to expand on a little bit more, which may be alienating to the audience, and I apologize for that. But this is the idea of overemployment in Web3, where you're meeting people who are involved in multiple DAOs. And you and I are that, like, we have at least 2 DAOs in common that we're both active in, which would be RaidGuild and ShillShop, where we are talking right now. How, like, are you feeling oversubscribed? Are you involved with like other DAOs, or just generally, like, what are your thoughts on that overemployment phenomenon in this space?
And just before I touch on that point, like, I understand to an audience listening what that feels like to download Discord for the first time and be like, wow, there is like people are just throwing this DAO, this DAO, this DAO, that, you know, over and over again, and it's quite overwhelming. But just rest assured that it is not. And all you got to do is show up to these meetings. All you got to do is just hop in the voice channels and talk to people. Slowly but surely, you know, you'll get around to it, and you know, you'll become a solidified member of whatever DAO it is. And I guarantee, you know, right now there's a DAO for everything. You know, if we have this conversation in January 2023, there's going to be a DAO for quite literally everything. So more recently, I have joined DAOs that have to do with video creation, video content, animation, 3D design, things like that, around like Unreal Engine and VR stuff. So I've kind of
spilled the beans. I've been looking for it.
Yeah.
Name drop. Let's go.
Yeah. So I've just kind of branched out from service DAOs, because I feel like at this point I have enough work to fill my day, and I'm just branching out into more artistic avenues on Web3, which I have found to be extremely helpful, because these people designing these plugins I'm using, or, you know, they've got assets for sale, you know, and you have a problem or a question about it, you just fire up Discord and talk to the guy who started it, you know, and he's back to you in 5 minutes.
That's huge.
And it's awesome. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. And I don't even want to get on NFTs, because that is just a rabbit hole of Discord that could suck up your whole day. I recently went and just exited like 20 servers, I think on Monday.
Yeah.
Killer.
Yeah,
Killer.
and that's an important skill to have in this space too. You have to be able to say no.
Be able to say
There's
no. Let him go.
Yeah, there's not enough people. Like I saw a tweet earlier where somebody was complaining that their like Discord support moderator team was getting poached from the support queue. People were putting in support tickets that were like, I want to hire you to be support in my Discord.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of.
And I'm sorry for like stepping on you there, but I am really curious. Like I would like to shill those like 3D design things because this is something I've been looking for RaidGuild. I am having a galaxy brain moment in my personal life where I'm like, the UI of the web has become too simple and it's too boring and everything is the same and we can be doing so much better now that we have, this is like technobabble, but there's a new spec from 2019 that nobody's looked at because of the pandemic, called WebAssembly. So what this means is that browsers can literally compile like assembly code, like the thing that C++ compiles to, the thing that like Quake was written in, can be run now inside of the browser. So these 3D artists are going to become more important than software engineers moving forward because there's going to be this expectation that like an online experience is 3D
100%,
and interactive.
100%. That'd be an amazing.
So what is the DAO called?
I use so the support DAOs I'm in. Enter Reality is this guy. I'll shill him all day. His name is Nicholas Esposito. He's from Italy. He's a 3D designer, and he created an insane plugin for Unreal Engine that would allow anyone in their bedroom with the HTC VR setup to do motion capture, so to animate themselves. It's insane. So I'll shill him all day, and the other one is called Art. Hold on, I want to make sure I pronounce this right if I'm getting them on this shill. Sorry. Arthiteka Vfx, and that one is this guy. I believe he's from Russia, and it might be multiple people. Insane stuff coming out of there in terms of 3D design, VFX, and the like. He's got a lot that uses the Niagara particle system of Unreal Engine, which is like how you would make running water, smoke, fire, special effects, things like that. Definitely check out their work. They're awesome, and they honestly support the decentralized web or the Internet of Things, even if that wasn't their intention. You know, instead of animation studios where potentially you're looking at like $20,000 per minute, you can do it yourself. And I think that's kind of like the spirit of Web3. It's moving away from these centers of control into just, who are actually the smartest people in the room who can do the job. And it is rewarding for them, I'm sure. And I look to them for inspiration, just by using their products and their services. I think, I support them in a monetary way and a social way, which I think is big.
Totally. So these are users. They're not DAOs.
No, they're
right?
not DAOs. They're just Discords.
Is there a VFX DAO?
Oh, I'm sure. There has to be.
I haven't seen one, and like I almost want to do one. Like another core feature of RaidGuild is like leaking this, but there's a client that came in. I believe the name is Protocol Labs, a little known company called Protocol Labs, that is looking to do a visual or like a creative services DAO. So this is like ideation and like strategy and stuff like film and TV and comic books and stuff like that.
Let's make one.
And they've tapped RaidGuild for help developing that DAO because like we're the blueprint for service DAOs. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Like we should do a VFX DAO. Like if RaidGuild can do a DAO to DAO buy from a coordinated suite of like VFX developers for such and such project. That's something that we should maybe think about working on.
Serious coin. If you got like the whole color grading, VFX, special effects, rotoscoping, like if you can do all of that, everyone's making video content these days. It's crazy. Whether or not it's like the Unreal Engine, like, the new Matrix movie, like that type of CGI, like very high end, or it's just simple like rotoscoping and DaVinci Resolve. I think, everyone needs it, and not everyone is going to take the time to learn how to do something that can be quite technical.
Totally. Yeah, you do things that others won't, so you can do things that others can't.
Yeah. All right, let's we can async about this later, but I like
Totally.
the VFX DAO.
Yeah, you said you had enough work to fill your day, hey? In Web3?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it difficult?
Yeah, one of the questions we had written down was it difficult to find work?
specifically in Web3, not just in general as a freelancer?
No, in Web3.
In Web3.
In Web3, starting with RaidGuild, obviously, you just jump in those meetings and it's like, oh shit, like this is a lot, can I handle this? These are some smart people. I have imposter syndrome. I don't know Solidity, like that type of thing. But then I spoke at one of the meetings for the cohort projects, and then Kerp hit me up. He's like, yo, man, I love that idea. Like, I'm going to add you to ShillShop right now. And from that point on, hopped on some consultations with Tay, and to have not really had any trouble finding work. And I think that, say I needed to find more work, I don't think it would be difficult at all, to be quite honest. I think that you just have to get over that first month's hump where, okay, you're not receiving consistent money and you're still learning the space and you don't really know who's who. I think you just got to find your place. And I tell people this all the time. My friends, so I'm like, you guys got to just apply, like join this. This is amazing. And I tell them, I'm like, I work with the same 5 or 6 people. Like, there's a lot of people in RaidGuild, but I find myself working with the same people because you just have a level of comfort and a level of trust in terms of shipping these products, and we just get the job done. And you find your little niche, and it becomes a lot easier when you're not dealing with the idea of like hundreds of people. Narrowing it down to like a dozen is fine.
It's interesting that you say that, because that's like a action item for RaidGuild. Like, that's like a culture that we're trying to implement, where like the raid parties are varied, right? So like we're aiming for a situation where like maybe there's 2 people that work together, and then on a 5-person raid it's like that 2 people and there's a different 3 people, so that we get to know everyone. And this kind of like levels out, like there's not issues with talent, right? So that if like a 5-person raid party coalesces around the same talent level, we don't want to be in a situation where we're like, okay, well, we're going to put the B squad on it, or the A squad, or like the A squad is always busy, and there's this like Pareto principle where like 80% of the work comes from 20% of the squads. So this is like an interesting phenomenon that you're bringing up. Like there's humanity really wants to squad up and be like, these are the boys, and I don't want to have to think about the other people. But like at a kind of like structural level in these DAOs, we're all looking to like fight that, you know what I mean? Because it's easier for new people to come in if there's like an always like shifting thing. It would be difficult for somebody to get in with the boys if they were walking up in the future. It like other things, like there's more like cross-pollination of like ideas and tactics and culture and like skills. So
it's like that.
It's really interesting how like that was like the first thing that came up, which is like you're finding like the boys, and like you tell people like you totally could find the boys, but after a while you start to feel like maybe I don't want to do like the boys every single time.
100%. And I'm still young in this game, in this space, and I would love to work and meet some new people and have that kind of Pixar mentality with spontaneous encounters and things like that. I think that is super important, and I think as I'm on more projects, I'm sure that I will find myself working with new people. I'm very excited to start copywriting with Christina soon, Bar Lucid. And that's gonna be really awesome. And I'll shill Opolis, even though I don't think they need to be shilled anymore.
No, we do. They did the consultation, so we can give them a little bit of shilling on the show here.
Cool.
Opolis, name drop here, is a very interesting protocol. So it's essentially like a Web2 company that identified Web3 as like a target market, and as they're learning more about that target market, they're progressively decentralizing. So that's pretty interesting to see like a Web2 company being eaten by Web3 in real time, and their service offering is essentially like HR, like healthcare and like mental health care and dental and all of that stuff, as well as like payroll and taxes for freelancers. So the idea is that you as a freelancer, you can kind of like consistently predict that you're earning $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 a month doing your thing. You would send your invoices, like the money that you receive from your invoices, to Opolis, and then Opolis would pay you on a salary. And you would say like, listen, I only need like $3,000 a month to live, but my business is earning 10. So they would send you salary for this 3, and then out of the rest of the 7 that's there, they would pay for your healthcare and your dental in like group policies, so you get the best deal. And this idea of like streaming and like taxes being taken care of and the healthcare being taken care of is something that's very compelling for freelancers. Unfortunately, it's not available in Canada yet. I need to get like a denture here because I played a little bit too much hockey, and it's like dental's not one of the universal things in Canada. So like I'm waiting for Opolis to come up here so that I can get on the group dental plan, because I don't want to. It's like $4,500 for the denture by myself, but if I was on a plan, it'd be like $400. So they need to hurry up and come to British Columbia, quite frankly.
Get that Opolis.
And yeah. And in order to get there, they're going to need some growth, and so they've actually come to ShillShop for that growth, which is like a fascinating thing. So we're going to be doing a lot of work for them. There's like a redesign of their website coming, and a much stronger content strategy coming down the pipeline. So if you haven't heard of Opolis already, you will soon. And also, Work Token may or may not go to the moon. Not financial advice.
Mackenzie, you said that Opolis is going to get ate by Web3. Do you think that it's going to be eaten by Web3, or do you think it's going to be living in parallel with Web2?
It's being eaten by Web3. It will not be a Web2 company by the time that it has successfully addressed its total addressable market in Web3. Because there's going to be hesitancy from Web3 workers. They're going to be like, what do you mean you have a CEO? I'm not paying you. Where's the DAO?
Okay. I think that their service offering might be enough for people to circumvent that, that usual concern with Web3. They'll take one look at their taxes, and they've worked on 11 raids or projects for non-RaidGuild service DAOs, and they're like, actually, I think I'm going to use Opolis.
So you said that you were, you said that you had a imposter syndrome when you first started getting involved with some of these projects.
100%.
Do you think that was something that you built up in your own head? Or do you think...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Especially because, you can't really see people face-to-face, so it's less personable, and you start hearing about the credentials of these people that are going through the cohort system with you. And I always knew I'm, an articulate, intelligent person, but I don't know a coding language, so, there's a barrier. And I didn't know that I would have the chance at first to express my own technical skills, like 2D and 3D animation, things like that, and video editing, sound editing, that type of stuff that I normally do. I did not think that there would be a place for that on these projects. I just didn't understand the scope of many of these projects. And then as soon as I hopped on some raids and consultations especially, and some of the consultations were very complex, high-level thinking, data science-driven type projects, and as soon as you hop on a few of them, you realize I know enough to understand and make a difference for them in some capacity, even if I'm not coding the back end or doing some front end UI UX design. I can contribute to this, and as long as you show up and people can trust you with their work, then there's no more imposter syndrome. I'm comfortable showing up to any raid and starting on any project. It might be a small contribution, but nonetheless, I'm there putting in the hours, and I feel comfortable now. But at first, and I'm sure that many people who have gone through the cohort system would agree that it is definitely a mental bridge to get over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to onboard my little sister, to Web3, because she's been having her experience has been in reception, right? So kind of office management and stuff like that. She's she works in ops, but ops light, and she hasn't really wanted to advance her career past that point. And now she's in a position where she's struggling to find work in a traditional world because of office shutdowns, right? But what is there to operate when everyone's at home? So I've been trying to onboard her to Web3 and get her to use a little bit of her management experience for that, because there's a huge demand for community management and ops that's just not being done. There's not people that are tending to the office in a decentralized world. And she has this thing, she kind of has a blocker about it of how is this worth money, right? Why would anybody ever pay me for moderating a Discord or managing Discord channels? What?
Yeah, no, this kind of ties.
I'm not showing up to an office, and I'm not wasting my life somewhere. So how do I pay my rent doing this? Could you speak to like that feeling? Like, did you ever feel like that, or could you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, if your little sister ever listens to this, not only do they pay Discord moderators, but they are paid their weight in gold. So, you know, keep your eye on that one. Yeah, as far as moving in you know, my own experience from Web 2 to Web 3, I was you know, I worked in advertising, so I was like, I don't know if these Web 3 companies are going to need Google and Facebook ads, and that's what I really wrote down on my RaidGuild application. It was like my experiences in companies buying cheap products and selling them for more, you know, which is a decidedly Web 2 phenomena. But I realized, you know, from going to a wordsmiths meeting early on and going through the cohort system that, like, okay, these people need documentation and they need a lot of it, and things like that has really, you know, helped bridge that gap for me. But in terms of what I can really agree with your sister on is getting paid. Like, you don't really know how much you might be making. You don't really know if it's going to be consistent. But as soon as you see that first proposal with those numbers on it, that will really, you know, ease concerns. And you know that you are going to get paid the market rate, and you are going to get paid tremendous value if you can contribute to these projects. Because a lot of these projects are not, you know, being started up by two college kids in a dorm smoking pot, eating Dominoes. Like, there's some serious teams of some very smart people who have been thinking about this since, you know, Ethereum launched. And, you know, they're putting down, you know, their plan, their proposal, and they want to pay for the best, and that's why they're coming through RaidGuild stores. They are not going on Fiverr and recruiting, you know, some Solidity dev. No, they're going to Matt, and because he's got a proven success, and, you know, and they will pay the market rate for sure. Yeah.
So market rate is kind of an interesting term, and like maybe we can shift this conversation to general like Web3 compensation, because it's like market rate means something different in Web3 than it does in Web2.
Certainly.
Like market rate in Web2 is like the lowest price that you could possibly like scam somebody into working for, which is not the situation in Web3 at all. And it's like, we can't say what the number is because it quite frankly varies. But this is like a crusade that I've been on a little bit in RaidGuild and like personal conversations, which is like, why do we not have like a standardized rate sheet of like, if we have a RaidGuilder working on Solidity, or if we have a RaidGuilder working on copywriting, how is it not, hello, welcome back. Wow. How is it not like public and common knowledge what that time is worth?
I agree completely. I think that John the other day on the ShillShop meeting had a great point about just standardizing it on the website as a crutch to recruit new talent. Just like, this is how much you could be making. And I think that there is like an unwritten rule about like a standard for, say, an hour of Solidity work, or an hour of front-end design, or an hour of copywriting, an hour of video work. But I think that some standardization could definitely help so that people aren't guessing so much, and the clients as well. Like, they understand, like, okay, you know, it's going to take 50 hours of various levels of work, and like, this is what we're looking at for the proposal. Whereas now, you know, as a cleric on some projects, it's kind of like, I go meet with the guys and girls and say, you know, we just hash out a quick rough estimate of dollars. When I believe it could be a little more transparent, and it would go with the spirit of Web3. You know, you don't really want people guessing too much. It should be less like an agency.
The problem I think comes in from like, let's pretend for a second that I'm very good at Solidity, because it just vibes with my brain. Like, let's all go to the land of make-believe where I'm actually really good at that. And let's say for example that like the rate sheet for a Solidity developer was $200 an hour for that work, for like your average RaidGuild member. But let's pretend for a second that I was not average. I was 2 standard deviations more efficient than the average RaidGuild member, which might mean that I work 50% faster. What takes an average RaidGuilder 40 hours to do, I can maybe do in 30. Why do I lose money?
Fair. Honestly, it's a very
and
fair
should
point.
I not increase my rate, right, by the same amount, so that in those 30 hours, I would be paid the same as somebody who's worked 40 hours?
Perhaps a range model might be good.
Yeah. So that's the issue. But the benchmarks that I'm mentioning, like Solidity at $200 an hour, question mark, is something that I haven't seen an issue with. Writing at $200 an hour, question mark, is something that I haven't seen an issue with. So, and these numbers, $200 an hour for copywriting, copywriters are like, their minds are exploding right now. They couldn't fathom a world where it's like by the time. But the thing is that like in Web3, the big difference from Web3 to Web2 is that in Web3, as I mentioned earlier, it's your name and you own it. So there's no RaidGuild is not profiting off of your labor. We're not selling your buying your labor low and selling it to somebody else high and taking that home. And no Web3 protocol would do this. Looking at like a DAO or like contributions to a DAO, they want to pay that $200 because they don't want somebody coming in for like $20 an hour and sucking. They like want to pay you a lot of money so that you take it seriously and you're good. They don't want you to ever phone it in.
Absolutely.
Because there's no head. Like, you're in charge, right? Like, you need to be motivated and feel compensated to make executive decisions and like use 100% of your brain power instead of just like being you're still a part of a team, but like the whole like part of the team from Web2 is that you have to make personal sacrifices for the collective benefit of the company, which is like not what's happening. Like, the thing that you can do to be the most value to the collective is to be really good. And the best way to be really good is to have your financial needs taken care of.
Absolutely.
So you can focus on the actual work.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get the best work if you pay anyone really well. I sat down and worked on these videos for like 6 to 10 hours a day because I was like, I absolutely have to deliver for the client and for the people on the team, for ShillShop, for RaidGuild. It's like, it was sort of like an honor thing that I really strived for, and it felt great. And for all you copywriters out there, start reading everything about Web3. Like, just start reading random articles everywhere. Even just Twitter. Like, it was easy for me to make the scripts for SWDAO because I had spent the last 2-3 years like learning about DeFi, and so it wasn't looking up terms. I wasn't like guessing at things. It was just kind of right off my hand and on the page. And I would encourage any copywriter who's getting taken advantage of by a agency or company to seriously learn about this stuff, because there is such a need for documentation and more of like an advertising type spin articles on all these DeFi protocols, Web3 companies, service DAOs, hell, RaidGuild itself. We need writing.
And then I just want to quickly touch as well for posterity on like the compensation models that we've seen so far. There's a couple different ways of doing it. RaidGuild has like kind of a unique one where we use an escrow, it's a smart contract that acts as an escrow. So the client will they'll come to us and say like, hey, I want help building this thing. And we go, okay, we have these people to do it and they want this much money for that. And the client goes, okay. And then that money goes into a smart contract, and then the people see, okay, this money's like in a smart contract, so it's like safe. I know that if I deliver this thing, one way or another, that money's coming to me. It's not like I have to fight the client for like them to pay their invoice. So then they get started and they do the work, and there might be like milestones included, but the idea is that like the work gets done, and then the money goes from the smart escrow to the developers. It's like handled by a treasurer role. There's like a person who's in charge of like tracking who did what and how that matches with the estimate, and then everyone gets their tokens transferred to them. So that's like the escrow model, but there's other ones too. There's like the retroactive public goods funding, which is where for certain DAOs you can walk up and go like, yo, you guys do not have this thing documented that you need to have documented, so I'm writing it. And then you can put a proposal together so that the DAO would pay you retroactively for the work that you did at the rate that you set, which is a little bit awkward because you've already done the work, right? So it's a little bit devalued than as if you had like charged for it beforehand. But that's always a way to like make money. Like, you could just walk up to a DAO that has a problem and they have funds in the treasury for you. And then another one is the bounty system. Like, maybe a DAO would say, I need this small piece of work done, and then you can go and tackle that one small thing. And you could go over to Gitcoin, which has a bounty board for that. Are there others that you've seen? or is there anything you want to expand on that?
I just to touch on the whole retroactive payment. I just ran into this yesterday. I hired a freelancer to do a character skeleton for a 3D cinematic that I'm making, and we were talking, and he's like, he was like, all right, that sounds good, like awesome, you know, it's gonna cost this amount, and I was like, okay, cool, can you make me a custom offer? You can send me a custom offer. And then he got back to me like 2 days later. He's like, I'm gonna send it to you, and if you like it, you can pay me, but you're gonna like it. I was like, all right, shit. I was like, I'm sure I'm gonna pay you, man. I appreciate you being on top of that. So thank you. And in terms of other models, I am stoked to see what happens in the future. Right now with the safe minions and all that, it would seem to someone Web3 native that it's a little bit slow. But the escrow, like the Gnosis safe thing, I think is like predominantly the future, with multiple addresses being able to approve work. I think that is probably going to be pretty standard going forward. And I'm just wondering, where does your head go? Do you see any other futures? I think the bounty system is huge for developers, but do you see anything else?
Yeah, there's two emerging technologies that are interesting, which is like social funding through a protocol like Coordinate. That I mentioned on the RaidGuild roundtable earlier this morning at the end there, which is where members of a community are given a valueless like recognition token at the start of some period of time, and they have to send it to, like, it can be converted to a portion of a treasury if the token is transferred to a new person, if and only if. So there's zero incentive for you to hang on to your awarded tokens at the start. And as you see other people performing work on the project, you can go like, okay, well, Will has been like busting his ass on this video, and the video turned out great, so I'm going to send him 20 of my utility tokens. And other people may agree or they may disagree. And at the end of it, like whatever, say that you had 10 people, which means that you would have like 1,000 tokens. Somebody might be sitting there with 200, in which case he would be entitled to 20% of the treasury for the project by himself. But this is like a coordinated like group effort to recognize who are the people that are pushing this thing forward, and who is along in like an apprenticeship capacity, or who had something unexpected come up that doesn't have time to be compensated equally. And by forcing the members to manage the treasury, like the people literally working on it, it's a little bit more accurate maybe than having like a treasurer come in at the end and say like, well, who did what? Because different personalities might not mesh with like telling the treasurer, I deserve this, and other personalities might be more persuasive. So that's an interesting one. And then there's another new technology, which is streaming, where as long as like the way that streaming works is that you set up in a certain amount in a treasury, and then each block on the network, there's a proportional portion of the treasury that's sent to each person equally. So as long as people are continuing to work on the project and like ship their tickets in their Kanban or Jira or whatever, you get paid each and every block that comes in. So on Gnosis chain, recently we ran a Gnosis chain, that's every 5 seconds. Say that you've negotiated a deal where you get like $1,000 a week. Every 5 seconds you get like 5 seconds over however many seconds there are in a week of that $1,000. So it's like kind of you get paid daily.
I like it a lot.
But it also means that sorry,
both of you guys. You want to?
Yeah. It means like if we get to a future where you can buy food with crypto, like you can go to bed with $0. You could have like cleared your account and have lunch money by lunch the next
Gambling
day,
money,
which is phenomenal.
So this is a perfect segue into, did you find it difficult to get your first like quote unquote paycheck from Web3?
My first actual paycheck, I think, was doing the ShillShopDAO videos. And before that, I got paid a little bit for some consultations, and I got paid for a cohort project. Wow, it has been so long. The origin stories. So, you know, got a couple $100 there, got a couple $100 from showing up at some consultations. But I think that I have sowed the seeds for a nice foundation for consistent income in terms of the connections I've made. And to answer your question clearly, I think it was slightly nerving to get that first paycheck. It was definitely a winding road in which I attended like dozens of meetings and, you know, showed up and, you know, put in some work and things like that just to get my name out there. And it seems that once that foot was in the door, when I got the first payment from ShillShopDAO on that project, it just it eased a lot of concerns, and and it kind of just tied the bow on top. Like, okay, like I can get paid for this. You know, I should continue to do this because the payments are nice, and there are just a lot of projects going through the guild. So I think that couple months effort to get to that paycheck was for sure worth the effort.
What about you, Mac? Do you have a similar experience?
Yeah, my Web3 onboarding was like, I didn't do a RaidGuild cohort system because I'm built different. I would just like, so like when you get into RaidGuild, you sign up as like a tavern member, which like verifies that you're not a bot. And then you get like access to like probably 10% of the channels that are inside of the Discord. And 2 of those channels are called Hacking 1 and Hacking 2. And they're, for whatever reason, public. So as like a member of the public, like a non-RaidGuild member, I was able to see like, oh, okay, that guy's in there, and they're working on like technology. So I would go and sit in, and I would be like on literally every meeting because I was extremely unemployed. I had nothing else to do. I had no money, like I couldn't be going out, right? So I would just be here on Discord, and when I saw somebody come up in hacking, I would sit there and I would just listen. And after 2 weeks of just listening, there were some people in there working on a project that I knew something about, and that was the Web3 handbook RIP from season 2. And the idea, and this is like still in progress, and I was just coordinating with the database master general at RaidGuild last night to get this thing finished up. But the idea of the Web3 handbook was like a RaidGuild product that we could like sell to other DAOs, where it would check on chain if the user who was using the application was a member of a DAO. And we implemented a couple different ways of checking that, because there's social token DAOs, and then there's like Moloch DAOs, like what we have here at RaidGuild. So, and there's like another way to think about a social token DAO is like an NFT holder DAO, like a Bored Ape Yacht Club. So it is able to check, like you're able to hand it a smart contract and say like, is this person a member of this DAO? Like, do they hold tokens? Do they hold an NFT? Do they have shares, voting shares? And all of those things are in there, ready to like go. But the problem is that the data that's being secured has to come in over HTTP. So I needed a database. It's not decentralized yet, and we're gonna keep like pounding our heads against that until we figure out a good, fast, decentralized database system that's private. I don't know if that's even possible, because the whole idea of blockchain is like, it's public. Anyways, so like they were talking about that, and they couldn't figure out like, how do I check that somebody is like verified in this thing before like revealing data to them? And I was like, oh, I know how to do that in Next.js, because I'm a React developer. So I hopped in, I shared my screen, and I like wrote a function for them right there in the public hacking channel with my VS Code. That's like, this is how you do this. And they were like, oh, holy moly, so like you're like a developer. And then they like put me on a small raid that's like outside of RaidGuild, but it was RaidGuild members doing it for a bit. And from that, I was earning, the guy was like, this is like a market rate problem again. The guy was like, how much money do you want to earn? And I didn't know how to answer that question, because earlier in 2021, I was working for a Web2 agency out of Toronto that just like didn't send me a paycheck for a month of work. They just refused to send it. And it was for like $1,800 for a month. And they were like, no, you don't even deserve that. And so I was like, oh, like maybe I'm not a good developer if they're like not paying for this work. But I didn't let that stop me, because like I had other ideas that like maybe this business was a scam outfit, right? Maybe they're criminals actually, and I actually am a good developer. So I told the guy like, you know, I'm looking for like probably $30 an hour, and he was like, okay, well I'll do 40, because as we mentioned earlier, like we were just anchoring development at like $200 an hour. So when I walked up to him and I said 30, he was like, you're fucked. Like. I can't pay you $30 an hour. He didn't say that to me, but he was like, I'll do 40. And so I worked with him for a bit on that project. I wrote some like UI components, but then I was invited to like other RaidGuild raids where I was earning $150 to $200 to $300 an hour. And I was like, okay, well, sorry, man, I can't work for $40 an hour anymore. Too good. And unfortunately, I had to leave that raid. I like couldn't get it across the line. But that was me. And the guy who was paying $40 an hour, he was like so stoked on the price. He's like, listen, just Discord me whenever you want money with your hours, and I'll send it to you immediately. And
So
that's what happened.
How long do you think, Mackenzie, from day one of entering Web3 till your first paycheck hitting your Canadian loonies?
It was
How long do you think that took?
it was 5 weeks.
5 weeks? What about
Yeah.
you, Will?
Slightly longer. I'd say 10 weeks. 10 weeks for the first
10 weeks?
real payment, you know.
Because you did the
Right.
cohort,
Yeah.
so there was like this thing of like the onboarding and the permission and like the educational component to it, and I missed all of
Yeah.
that. My initiating event, and like I didn't care about crypto until I saw a TikTok that was like, there's these things called DAOs, and here's how they work, and he just like went and described 1910s syndicalism, and I was like, yo, syndicalism, I love that. A little bit Red Scare again. But yeah, please give me ownership over the products that I create. And so then I went and I went to Gitcoin, and I was looking for work there through DAOs, and one guy recommended like you should go check out RaidGuild. So that was like day 4 that somebody said to check out RaidGuild.
Damn, that I honestly didn't know
so-
that background.
okay.
That's lit. That's honestly awesome that you got in there. You got to make your own path. It's that Web3,
Yeah.
like you're your own name, and you know we don't really
Yeah.
give a shit, you know, who you've worked for in the past. That's not in Web3, so you just gotta show up. You know, you just gotta show up and talk.
I
to
watched
people.
like a bullshit financial advice crypto TikTok, and then it changed my life.
And I was on an island full of people drinking beers on a Saturday when I had a chance encounter with someone that I hadn't seen in a long time. It's funny how it happens, but
And he was-
credit to us.
Yeah.
And Will, that was a RaidGuild member?
Yeah, I don't know if he's
The chance
still
encounter?
active. He's a really smart dude. I think he was trying to do his own thing. I think he was a background Solidity dev. Just left his 9-to-5 development job because, in his own words, he could make a shitload more. And so our mutual friend in common, a person that goes by the Discord name Deep Dish, I've tried to get him to apply for a long time, and he is finally making his round. So if you're listening to this, Deep Dish, you know, heed these warnings well. Get in here.
Yeah. I talked to him the other day,
awesome.
and I'll just like recap what I put in for him. So he's like a guy who's trying to become a developer, and he was asking about like how do I actually like do Solidity, or like what's the point where I can start charging money for it. And quite frankly, at the start, because like sitting down to read the Ethereum documentation is pulling teeth. So like just like if your contract compiles, you're better than like 99% of Solidity or developers that are looking at doing Solidity, right? Like nobody's doing it. So just sitting down and reading the documentation qualifies you to be paid for it. But he was like, what should I have in my portfolio? And how do I get better at this? And the advice that I gave to him, and I would give to like anybody who's looking at doing Solidity, is you need to understand back to front what's available in OpenZeppelin, because the fact of the matter is that a lot of the hard parts are done for you and importable, right? It's like free and open source on the internet via OpenZeppelin. Thank goodness.
Mackenzie, what is OpenZeppelin?
Like it's exactly what I'm describing. Like they sat down and they wrote smart contracts that you can import via Node Package Manager into your Solidity project. So if you're looking for something like role-based access control, where you want to have like special privileges for managing your smart contract, like with the smart escrow, we need people who are able to put out funds, right? So any kind of specialized role that gives privileged access to functions, you can get that. It's already written. Or ownable.
That's what OpenZeppelin is.
Yeah, or the ERC20 implementation, ERC721, ERC777, which I'm really excited to work with. That's the payable one where people can put ERC20s into a smart contract instead of just the gas unit. That's going to be really cool. That's like that makes it like a vending machine or like a jukebox. It's not just about like the gas going in. It's about the utility of the token that you're developing and like the meme of your protocol through ERC 777, and then obviously ERC 1155, which is what OpenSea minting runs on. So with like ERC 1155, you can make an NFT marketplace where anybody can walk up with whatever file, and you can turn their file into an NFT for them automatically without touching it.
Damn.
And this is another one that I just I wanted to talk about, was when you mint an NFT, right? Where does those NFTs sit? Like, where does your image sit?
Where is the NFT?
I feel like this is just an ongoing debate, and I want to talk about it.
Is the NFT in the room with us right now?
I don't know. Like, does the NFT live on OpenSea, or does it live on a Web 2 hosting platform, or where does it live, Mac?
It's determined by the smart contract in question. So there's a section in the smart contract that allows for the smart contract to be queried for the token URI information. And some implementations I've seen have like a base URI where somebody would indicate like, okay, I have this website, and if you go to like www.nftforfree.com/BAYC, like say that you were like selling like bootleg BAYCs, right? You would put a folder of each picture of the BAYC collection at that route, and then you would tell the smart contract, if you go to nftforfree.com/BAYC/1, this returns the metadata for BAYC at index 1. So that's where the picture is and the attributes, but you tell the smart contract where it's hosted. And what you should do, what all developers should be doing, is putting those folders on IPFS and pinning it themselves, so that it's permanently available for purchasers of the NFT. Because like the opposite, which is where if I did put it on nftforfree.com and then I got hit by a bus and I never updated the credit card for my hosting, when that time elapses, when the hosting time elapses, which is like 30 days or 2 years or whatever, then the NFT goes away. Then that's not what people are buying. That's not what people are buying. They're buying like the NFT permanently. So it's your responsibility as a developer to try to make it as permanent as you possibly can, i.e. IPFS.
No GoDaddy hosting?
No, please don't do that.
What happens to your NFT when your GoDaddy hosting expires?
It goes away. It's gone.
I haven't seen what happens yet. Like, I'm actually kind of curious.
It just like, bro, you know when you're on a website and like the picture isn't being hosted anymore, and it's just like that little broken thing.
Is that what's going to happen on OpenSea?
That's what happens. Like, it doesn't.
Do they
the
have, like, an
HTTP
automatic
request
purging
returns
system?
404 because the resource does not exist.
Jeez. Okay, well that's a bit of a tangent.
I enjoyed that. I like these things. That's why I like hanging out in Discord.
Yeah. Now you know. Like that's how NFTs get rugged, right? Like somebody could like purchase this artwork on a domain, and then it goes away, and then they could put it on a new domain and sell it again.
So, Will, for anybody that's listening, just a general synopsis of what we just talked about. How was the onboarding experience from Web 2 to Web 3? Just sum it up for us.
A little bit nerve-wracking, a little bit overwhelming. It definitely requires a leap of faith and some foresight. But I always believed in the Web3 and crypto space at large, so I knew that I was in the right place, even if I had to grow into it, even if I wasn't being guaranteed X amount of money for the skills that I have developed. But to sum it up in short, it was overwhelming for sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Is there anything that would have made it easier? Like,
yeah, that's good.
I know we had a long conversation about the onboarding process just earlier this morning, so my mind has definitely been on that today. I think some just, but that it just comes down to the payment, which I don't think is part of this question. I think just the ease of getting assimilated with RaidGuild. I think they do a pretty damn good job. I really think, just to go back to the whole, it's on you, you got to do it. Like, I was confused as hell, and all I really had to do was just show up to meetings, and just listen to Tay or JP, just talk us through everything, and rewatch the slides, and meet some new people, work on a cohort project. So I think that the way that RaidGuild has it set up, I think is good for getting assimilated, and then it's just on you. So if anything, the only thing that I think could make it a little bit easier, it's such a funny like little tidbit, is just getting a confirmation that you've submitted your application, because that scared the hell out of me. I submitted the application, I wrote, I took my time, wrote it, and I submitted it, and it was just like a blank screen. I was like, oh shit, like, do I have to do that all over again? But other than that, like, that's not really part of the onboarding process. I think RaidGuild does a hell of a job, to be quite honest, of assimilating people. I just think that anyone listening out here should definitely know that it's definitely going to take some time to get comfortable with that. So just keep showing up to meetings. I promise you. Just show up and listen to people.
Keep showing up to meetings.
Show up to meetings.
That's the takeaway?
Go in the voice channels, and I know at RaidGuild in particular, you can't message any member when you're an apprentice, but to try to find common connections, try to find people that are willing to open their DMs. Myself, if anyone from future cohorts would like to DM me, I'm always down to talk. I'll hop in a voice channel with you anytime and help out. So these people are really nice, and they're not just some scary developers hiding behind a profile picture.
Yeah.
But they're good people who are trying to make the world a better place in this new decentralized world. So if you want to get paid your real market rate, and you want to work from home, and you want to set your own hours, and you want to work on projects that are actually cool and actually change, and you want to, if you're a developer, have ownership of what you develop, show up to the meetings.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it sounds like that was like a really good CTA. And just to like put a final bow on it is like the hard part is understanding for yourself that your making it status is not questionable. Like WAGME needs to be understood before you take this leap, and just any more like encouragement for people out in like Web3 that they are indeed going to make it is going to be the thing that gets them on board, right? So that's it. That's what was missing. You didn't know if you were going to make it or not, and you made it. And I can say to people listening, you're going to make it if you take yourself seriously. You could say it as well, probably.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. You will find that project that you've been waiting to work on. And if you're struggling for purpose, I find that the purpose of working in Web3 DeFi projects has fulfilled me with something beyond just financial and fiscal, something more spiritual, working on something that is there for the masses. I'll just shill SWDAO one more time. It's like this crypto-based hedge fund that anyone can use to, make money. You don't have to be some Wall Street exec or some big corporate, Joe Schmo. You could just be me sitting here in San Diego, just in my room, and I can use these quantitative algorithms that, Alex and crew developed over like 4 or 5 years. Some of the smartest people I've ever talked to in my life, and I get to use all their hard work. It feels good to work on something like that. It fulfilled me with purpose, and instead of just talking to some face, some middle manager, I talked to Alex a whole lot, and it felt really cool, from going from my previous job and into that. Like, wow, I have open comms with Alex, who's is the CEO of SW Capital. It was cool as hell, honestly, and it fulfilled me with a lot of purpose that I hope to drive into my next big project, and I'll shill Topes here at the end. I'm really excited to get going on EXO, although the name of that remains to be is subject to change. But I am beyond excited, and that I'm sure is going to fill me with a lot of purpose, and it's something that I'm passionate about. And Mac will be joining
Totally.
me, and hopefully Roach.
Yeah, hopefully. I want to see that one go, and if he doesn't get back to us soon, we're just going to go ahead and do it, because that's something that the world definitely needs.
I'm talking with him tomorrow, and we've been
nice.
talking, and I am just thrilled to get that one off the ground. That is a great game, and so maybe I'll loop back on this podcast, and we can have a discussion about that, after the fact, and help shill him.
Yeah, totally.
Sweet.
Looking forward to it.
Well, I think that wraps up today's episode. Thank you very much, Will. For anyone that's listening, take the leap.
Yeah.
Show up to the meetings.
Yeah.
You are going to make it.
Yep. And if future Raid Guild members watch this, my name is Willdro, and you can DM me. Let's have a laugh. We'll be all right.
Nice.
Cool.
All right, well, thanks very much.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for listening. That was ShillShop Weekly, brought to you by ShillShop, the decentralized autonomous Web3 marketing consultancy. Music was provided by Alexander Nakarada via Patreon, where I, Mackenzie, am a patron, which allegedly enables me to use his work in commercial applications such as this show. If you're looking for high-quality, royalty-free Celtic or medieval-themed music for your project, definitely check him out over at serpentsoundstudios.com. If you are a protocol or product developer, owner, founder, working in Web3, and would like to appear on the show to discuss your journey, insight, product, or protocol, please come find us in the RaidGuild Discord. The invite link is always available at raidguild.org. If you want to engage with ShillShop to create and execute a marketing strategy for your product or protocol, head over to hireus.raidguild.org to book a consultation via the standard RaidGuild queue. If you're a freelancer looking to contribute your time, technical expertise, and talent, head over to raidguild.org/join to submit an application to the cohort queue. Once again, I'm Mackenzie, Web3 developer, and I was joined by my co-host Degeneroach, restricted market advertising specialist. And ShillShop Weekly was brought to you by ShillShop, the decentralized autonomous Web3 marketing consultancy. Thanks for listening. See you next week.